All right, so now that we've got the start of our nameplate put together, the glue's drying. Now we're going to start moving on to the electrical. All right, so we've got our battery connector here. We've got our LED light strip. We've got our light switch. We have one of these short 6-inch pieces of wire. It'll either be black with a red stripe on it, or completely red. So I'll try to get you guys mostly the red, but there may be some of the black with the red stripe on it. All right, so I only need one of them. Small piece of solder. We've got our battery holder and light switch cover. So now we can go ahead and we can start to solder. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to make my connections on my switch. All right, so for the switch, we're going to have we're going to have the red wire for the battery connector is going to come in and be soldered on here. And then we're going to have the red wire for that's going to go to our LED is going to be soldered on the opposite side. So the first thing I need to do is I need to feed this red wire from the battery connector. I need to feed that through the bottom of the switch cover that we 3D printed. Okay, so I need to go ahead and I need to solder this on. So this is the first soldering connection that I'm going to make here. My soldering iron's been plugged in. It's nice and hot. So I do want to be careful around it. So I'm just gonna put that through the hole there. I'm just gonna see if I can get a little bit closer. All right. So I've got my my soldering wire, my wire through. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of solder here. All right. It doesn't take much to get this connected. All right. So you can see very quickly that's been soldered on there. All right. So I give it a little tug. It's not going anywhere. So now I need to turn this around, and I want to solder on my my loose wire. All right. So I'm just going to feed this through the bottom just to make it a little bit easier. All right. That's going to go through here. All right, and it should pretty much hold and stay. All right. So again, does not take much. All right. Apply a little bit of heat. Touch that with some solder. You can see it does solder very quickly. All right. So there we go. I've got a really good connection there as well. I'm just going to add a little bit more solder to the other side of this one here. Not much, just a little bit more solder. A really good connection on that. Okay, so now I've got this my switch soldered on. I can actually take this switch, push that down, and I can actually push that into my switch cover. So that's how that's going to look. So I've got my red wires, got my red or my my positive that's going to come from my battery. All right, it's going to go up to the switch, and then my positive from the switch is going to come out and go to the LED. And then I've got my neutral or my black wire. All right, so now I need to look at how this is going to be soldered to my my LED strip. So I've got my LED strip. Now, if you look on the LED, all right, you could see. So we're going to actually be soldering right to these 2 points right here, right to these two copper colored contact points. And you can see there's a little arrow here. All right, so where that, we want to make sure that we're soldering on away from the point of the arrow. All right, so we want to make sure that the arrow is pointing this way. So that's the way we want the electrical current to run. All right. So what I'm going to do is it's got a little adhesive back to it. So I'm just going to peel off a little bit of that adhesive backing protection. Okay. You don't need much, maybe half an inch. Peel that off. I'm just going to stick that down to the table. It's just going to make it a lot easier for me to solder that in place because it's not going to move around on me. Okay. So now I've got that down. All right. I've got my black wire, okay, coming from my battery connector. And I've got my red wire that's coming out of my switch. So the black wire is going to get soldered right on that point where the arrow is. So I have the arrow here, all right? So this is going to get soldered right onto this contact point right there, okay? So the way that's going to be done is I'm going to take my solder, okay? Now you do have to be very careful here not to add too much solder or too much heat, all right? So I'm going to touch this, just give it a little tap, all right? Add a little bit of solder, that's it. So you can see very, very quickly, it takes about a second or two. All right, so again, touch, a little bit of solder, all right? And that's it. That's all the amount of solder I want to add to this. I do not want to overdo the solder on this. All right, it's going to be very easy to make a bridge joint. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my black wire in, coming from my switch, my neutral wire. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and attach that up by where that little arrow is. So I'm just going to press that on top of the solder, add a little bit of heat to the top of the wire. All right, and what I'm doing is I'm just tapping it a little bit. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of heat. All right, that's going to fuse that down. And I do just want to add a tiny bit of solder to the top, just to make sure it gets we get a really, really good connection. All right, so add that little bit of solder. All right, doesn't take much. Now that's connected. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my my hot wire. All right, so the wire's a bit long, so I'm going to trim a little bit of that off. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and clip a little bit of that off. You can see with a little bit of a shorter lead. And I did that just so there's a better chance that these wires won't touch. All right, so I'm going to add that heat. All right, and I should just about. Now you got to be careful because it's moving around a bit on me. All right. Okay, it's connected, but it's a little loose. I'm just going to add a little bit more solder to the top of that. There we go. Okay, give that a minute or two to cool. I'll see. All right, so I can peel that up. All right, see how my connections are. Give them a little tug. Connections are good and solid. All right, put my protective backing back on there for the adhesive. So now I've got that all set up. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to do a quick test. I want to make sure that the switch and the lights will actually light up for me. Okay, so I'll take my battery. I'll go ahead, I'll connect my battery. Okay, so I've got power, switch works. All right, on, off. All right, power works. All right, so now I've got all my connections done and ready to go. Next, we're going to go over how to install the LEDs, put the face cover on, and make sure that the battery connector is also connected as well.